While Freedom Convoy protests and rallies continue across the country, what does Trudeau do? Ugh.
Keep on trucking for a free world.
The dictator-in-chief, the blackface himself, the man who publicly admitted he admires China's dictatorship.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar.
Let's just put it this way. He's been trying to grab more power than he already has for a long time. He's had a minority government for years. So last November, he called an election when no election was needed. There wasn't supposed to be an election for a while, but he was going to try to convert his minority government into a majority government so he could do whatever the hell he wants without the approval of the other political parties. The election didn't go as well as he planned, and he ended up with another minority government almost identical to the one that we had before the $600 million election. Well, that's just not good enough for tyrant Trudeau. So now he has forged an agreement with the NDP, one of the other major parties. The NDP is very, very far left. Like, they're about as far left on the spectrum as you can go. We're talking like socialist, communist tendencies. They're anti-everything, basically. Anti-gun, anti-oil, anti-anything patriotic, forget it. So they have formed an agreement with the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh. They don't want to call it a coalition government because they know that would look really bad and we might have an uprising. So they don't call it a coalition government. They have a
confidence and supply agreement. Now, what does that mean for Canadians? What does a confidence and supply agreement mean for Canadians who have been obliterated by the Liberal government? The economy's been destroyed by the Liberal government. Our energy sector is suffering miserably under the Liberal government. They're going to vote as a bloc. They're going to vote as a coalition moving forward, because that's what this really is, They're calling it a confidence and supply agreement because a coalition government would just be too hard for Canada to take right now. So they call it a confidence and supply agreement to try to just keep it under the radar so they don't piss too many Canadians off, right? Now they hold the majority vote on everything. They can push any measure they see fit through the House.
So what that basically means is there cannot be a no confidence vote now. There's no possible way to remove Trudeau. He is going to stay in power till at least 2025. And here's the thing, even if we have an election tomorrow and the Conservatives win the election, the Liberals and the NDP, they can simply have a no confidence vote and remove the duly elected Conservatives. Basically, our democracy is being hijacked now. You thought it was bad before? It's about to get a whole lot worse.
Hi everyone, sorry about the poor quality of this video, but I'm traveling from Montreal to Ottawa just as breaking news comes forward of a coalition power pact between the Socialist NDP and the Liberals to keep in control of the government until the year 2025. Obviously, they have agreed to a radical and extreme agenda to expand the power of government by taking away the freedoms of the people, to increase spending and taxes and inflation on the backs of the people, or just inflation as I've described it.
Both Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau are card-carrying members of the WEF, and we know what that means. Yeah, the Great Reset is going to get a nice big push now. They're going against guns, they're going against gas vehicles, they're going against our energy sector, the most ethical oil on the planet. But no, we're going to just keep importing it from other countries instead of refining what we have here because, we can't possibly help Canadians out. We can't possibly be energy independent. The same thing's going on south of the border as we know with Biden right now. This is all so orchestrated. I really think at this point, I think if Trudeau thinks that the small fringe minority, which was so small that apparently he had to enact the Emergencies Act, which is something, you know, reserved for times of war. So obviously that small fringe minority was a little more dangerous to Trudeau's dictatorship than he planned or he ever thought possible. Well, I think, judging by the absolute eruption of anger all over the internet right now, from not just conservative-minded people, but NDP voters all across the country are absolutely pissed off because they don't like Trudeau either, and they don't like the Liberals. This whole idea the NDP and the Liberals are, well, people who vote for those two parties are the same, so therefore they're a majority. BS. Now we got a real problem on our hands, ladies and gentlemen, and I think the small fringe minority that shut down Canada's capital city along with borders, Canada-US border crossings. Okay, I think that was just a tip of the iceberg of what's coming next. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about all this? What do you think, Asher? What should we do? I know that obviously, there's always gonna be some people that are looking for drama and their adrenaline's pumping and they're like, oh, we need to take up arms, and they call for violence and things like that. Obviously, that's never a solution. Some of the most effective revolutions in history were non-violent, and I think that's where it has to stay. However, I think we need to organize not just these convoys that are happening all the time. Now, it's like a fact of life now. Like I said a while ago, it's just going to become the norm. There's going to be blockades and protests and freedom rallies all the time as long as this continues. Disruptions are not going to stop. But we have to go a step further, and I know a lot of other people suggested this, and I think it's a great idea. I think we need to have nationwide strikes. I think even people who are not involved at the protests, the freedom rallies, the truckers and whatnot, you don't even need to go to a specific place or a specific city. All you have to do is not start your truck, stay home, go on strike. I wouldn't shed a single tear if somebody suggested something like, you know, a tax revolt maybe. Work under the counter if you can. Everyone should work under the table. Everyone should do their best to not be tracked by the government and to keep their earnings. It's your inalienable human right to work to provide yourself and your family with a livelihood. And the government's got way too big and out of control. Digital IDs, with what they want to bring in, you're not going to be able to do anything anymore without being not only tracked, but completely controlled. And I think that's a step too far. And that's just too much. We have to nip this in the butt now. You better hold on to your hats because Canadians are actually getting really, really pissed off now.
Wouldn't that be a shame if the government couldn't fund the things they're doing to us if we stopped paying them? Oh, yeah, terrible shame. I'd hate to see that happen.